Have you ever observed someone who commands a room without uttering a single word? They don't shout. They don't plead. They simply withdraw. And in that silence, everything shifts. The energy changes. People begin to question, to chase, to feel. Now, imagine if you did the same. If you stopped reacting on impulse, choosing silence over a heated retort, retreat over an explosion. What would happen? This is the pivotal point. When you are no longer constantly available, emotionally, physically, psychologically, the world around you is thrown into crisis. People have grown accustomed to controlling you through your reactions, your predictability. The day you choose to withdraw, the game changes. Those who thought they knew you realize they never truly did. Carl Jung said, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves." So consider this. When you become inaccessible, who grows desperate? Who gets irritated? Who tries to provoke you just to pull a familiar reaction from you? Their behavior reveals everything about them, and one critical thing about you: how much you are still being manipulated without even realizing it. You keep giving pieces of yourself away, to please, to keep the peace, to hold on to people who were never truly with you. With every forced yes, every immediate response, every emotional reaction, you surrender a fragment of your energy. At the end of the day, what remains? Exhaustion, frustration, an emptiness you can't explain. Let me tell you why. Because you are too available for those who don't deserve a single minute of your silence. This isn't about turning your back on the world. It's about turning toward yourself. It's about what Jung called individuation, the process of becoming whole, authentic, and complete. This journey begins when you understand that conscious silence is more powerful than 1,000 arguments. That strategic withdrawal is not an act of escape, but an act of power. So I ask you, how long will you let others control you through your emotions? How long will you react like a puppet every time someone pokes your wounds? Perhaps it's time to cut those strings, to withdraw, to become a mystery, because when you stop being constantly available, everything changes. We are taught to be ever-present, to respond quickly, to please, to say yes when we mean no. From childhood, we're conditioned to believe our worth is tied to our availability to others. But here is a truth you may never have heard with such clarity. This excessive availability is not a virtue. It is a prison. As long as you believe you must be accessible at all times, you will be manipulated, drained, and forgotten the moment you are no longer useful. Why? Because being always available makes you predictable. And anything predictable becomes a tool. People use you as an emotional emergency button, pressing you for attention, relief, or validation, then putting you back on the shelf. You're trapped in an illusion that being present for everyone will mean someone will be present for you. But it doesn't work that way. Jung spoke of the persona, the mask we wear to be accepted and loved. This is the mask that keeps you overly available. You say it's okay when you're suffocating. You respond immediately, even when exhausted. You explain, justify, and defend yourself as if you owe the world something. The truth is, the more you place yourself at the center of other stages, the more you disappear from your own. Constant availability is a subtle form of self-abandonment. It's a disguised way of seeking approval and avoiding rejection. The price is your peace, your finite vital energy distributed as if it were infinite. People who demand your constant availability don't want you. They want what you provide. Validation, company, distraction, comfort. When you set a boundary or refuse to react, they get irritated. Not because you changed, but because you stopped being functional for them. Here is the cruelest truth. The more available you are, the less value others assign to you. What is too abundant becomes common. No one respects what they don't have to earn. No one values what is always there. So stop and think. Who truly deserves your time, your attention, your presence? Or more importantly, who deserves your absence? To answer that, we must understand why we react so much, why we give in so easily. The answer lies in what Jung called psychic energy. Your energy is all you have, and if you don't learn to protect it, someone will use it against you. Jung did not see the psyche as a machine that reacts without consequence. He saw it as an energy system. Every thought, emotion, and action consumes a part of that energy. The question is, are you choosing where your energy goes? Or is the world deciding for you? Every time you react impulsively, you waste psychic energy. Defending yourself against unwarranted criticism, responding to provocation, engaging in useless debates, pleasing those who don't value you. You spend your inner strength on what does not nourish you. Jung was clear, what you resist, persists. The more you react, the more you bind yourself to the problem. People who are emotionally drained are not weak. They are misdirected. And when you are exhausted, you become vulnerable. Manipulative people sense this. They see you don't guard your energy, that you react to everything, and they take advantage. A healthy psyche knows how to conserve its energy. This means saying no without guilt, remaining silent without feeling cowardly, observing before acting. True power isn't in reacting. It's in consciously choosing when and how to act. How many nights have you lost sleep over an unresolved argument? How many hours spent ruminating on a slight? This is your energy draining away. You are feeding ghosts that should have died long ago. Psychic energy is your force field. When guarded, it commands respect without a word. When poorly managed, you become invisible, reactive, and fragile. The world has no mercy for those who give in easily. Start observing your triggers. What makes you lose your center? These are the points where your energy escapes. That is where you need to work, not to become cold, but to become sovereign. Here lies one of Jung's greatest revelations. When you conserve your energy, you break the projections others place on you. This is where we enter the territory of silent manipulation. You believe your reactions are conscious choices. But the truth is darker. Most are programmed. Those who understand this can manipulate you easily. Opportunistic people don't need to force situations. They just press the buttons you've left exposed. Jung called this projection, the mechanism where people project onto others what they cannot see in themselves. The more emotionally available you are, the more you become a blank canvas for these projections. That friend who only calls in a crisis, that partner who needs you to save the day, they aren't relating to you. They are relating to the role you agree to play. Why do you agree? Fear of disappointing, of not being loved, of being abandoned. The most effective manipulation doesn't happen in shouts. It happens in the silence of guilt. You feel you owe the other person your availability, even when it destroys you. The manipulator doesn't need to control you. They just need you to keep reacting the same way. But when you stop reacting, the game breaks. When you say no, respond with silence, or withdraw without explanation, the projections crumble. The mask they put on you falls. This unsettles people because they no longer know who you are. They are forced to look at themselves, and not everyone is prepared for that. Your unavailability is a threat because it forces others to confront their own emptiness. The silence you offer reveals the internal noise they don't want to hear. Then comes the attack, the criticism, the drama. Not because you are wrong, but because you stopped being a convenient mirror. Jung said, "We do not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. When you withdraw, the other's shadow emerges. This is unbearable for those who used you as an escape. Are you ready to be misunderstood, rejected, or attacked for protecting yourself? Are you ready to endure the silence that follows the rupture? It is in that silence that a new power is born. The modern world is noisy. Everyone wants to be heard, to win debates, to prove a point, even at the cost of their peace. But there is a power few master, the power of conscious, strategic, lucid silence. Not the silence of absence, but of amplified presence. Jung saw silence as fertile ground for inner transformation. When you stop reacting, you begin to observe. You see patterns, manipulations, and self-sabotage cycles you never noticed. Silence allows for lucidity, and lucidity is dangerous for those who live to control you. People panic when you don't respond because your silence takes away their narrative control. While you speak, you are in their game. When you are silent, you change the rules. True silence is mastery over your own energy. It is the refusal to be dragged down by another's emotions. It is the conscious choice not to engage in battles that aren't worth your energy. Individuation requires this distancing. Only in silence can you hear yourself without the world's interference. Do not be fooled. Silence has a price. It will distance you from those who only valued the role you played. You will seem cold, distant, arrogant. But this is a reaction from those who never wanted to deal with your depth, only your utility. The hard truth. The more you mature, the more selective you become with your words. You understand that each sentence is an energetic investment, and not everyone deserves access to your truth. Sometimes silence is not retreat. It is sovereignty. It is the language of those who no longer need to prove anything to anyone. Silence forces the other to deal with their own thoughts, their own internal noise. This discomfort reveals more about them than any argument ever could. You don't need to explain your absence. It explains itself. Those who feel threatened by it reveal how much they depended on your imbalance to maintain their control. The most powerful silence isn't the one that disturbs others. It's the one that reconstructs you from within. It connects you to something beyond external approval. In this internal space, free from demands, you recover your vital energy and reconnect with your essence. Understanding this is not enough. You must act. It's no use knowing all this if you still say yes when you mean no. Respond to bothersome messages and maintain relationships out of inertia. Awareness without action is self-deception. True transformation begins when you decide to become selective. This requires emotional discipline. Conscious unavailability is not about being cold or indifferent. It's about no longer being accessible to anyone at any time for any reason. It's about taking control of your energy, your time, your peace. Start small, not responding immediately, breathing before reacting, leaving a discussion before it drags you into chaos. Saying, "Not today. I'm not interested. I won't get involved." Crucially, you do not need to justify your absence. You owe nothing to anyone but yourself. This, for many, is unforgivable. When you refuse to explain yourself, you take away their power to keep you in a narrative where you are always the helpful, accessible one. Jung understood that individuation requires a sacred isolation, a time of inner retreat where you relearn to listen to your own voice without the world's interference, where you rebuild your identity from your own center, not from the gaze of others. A good thermometer for your evolution: observe who distances themselves when you become reserved. Observe who tries to provoke you when you stop reacting. Observe who accuses you of changing when you start to protect yourself. These are not signs you are wrong. They are proof you are freeing yourself. Being unavailable is uncomfortable at first. You will feel guilty. You will be called selfish. This is part of the process. You have spent a lifetime being conditioned to put yourself second. It's natural that change causes discomfort, in you and in those who benefited from your old version. Conscious unavailability is the foundation of self-determination. When you say no to the world, you are saying yes to yourself. Your emotional absence will expose wounds in others they do not want to face. It will reveal how much they depended on your emotional chaos to feel in control. This is when the rupture comes. With it comes pain, loneliness, estrangement, the feeling you are losing something, when in fact you are freeing yourself. So what happens after the distancing? What is born from the silence? Rebirth. When you stop being available to everyone, something profound happens. First, an uncomfortable silence. You question yourself. But gradually that silence transforms, cleanses, calms, and heals. Then comes solitude, not of absence, but of total presence with yourself. The solitude of the strong. The solitude of one who no longer betrays themselves to keep others close. In that space, confusion is replaced with clarity. Anxiety is replaced with peace. Neediness is replaced with a new strength, the strength of being whole within yourself. Jung said the process of becoming who you truly are requires you to distance yourself from the collective, to walk alone for a while. This is what you are doing. You are not fleeing the world. You are returning to yourself. You stop being a reactor and become a creator. You cease to be shaped by circumstances and begin to shape your reality from within. The people who are uncomfortable with your absence reveal they never wanted you. They wanted the role you played. That is liberating. You will lose people, but you will find yourself. You will distance yourself from places, but you will reconnect with your essence. You will be misunderstood, but you will finally be respected. Because when you are no longer available for anything, you become valuable, rare, unforgettable. This is a rebirth. The start of a life where you no longer accept emotional crumbs, mind games, or voids disguised as affection. You only accept what resonates with your peace, your truth, your wholeness. If you have made it this far, a part of you is already ready for this path. A part of you has already understood that being loved means nothing if you have to abandon yourself to get it. True self-love begins when you choose yourself, even if it means being alone for a while. So tell me, are you ready? Are you willing to pay the price of being you? If this message resonates, write in the comments, "I choose my peace." Let's see how many are ready for this transition.